Next is Herman Hoosman. Herman acts as a senior advisor and expert and coordinator of international projects for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment in the Netherlands. This department is the primary authority responsible for monitoring all waste streams throughout the Netherlands. A biologist and environmentalist by training, Herman has held many government positions, and as an international coordinator, Herman has been involved in projects across the globe, right across the globe, from Brazil, Bulgaria and Canada to China, Colombia and the Czech Republic and many, many more. He speaks at many international conferences, and we're excited to have Herman here today to share his experience on this topic. Herman.
Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with a geography lesson about the Netherlands. Probably few of you will have Dutch ancestors, but the Netherlands, a very small country, about 200 by 200 kilometers, so 40,000 square kilometers, but still we're with 17 million inhabitants, surrounded by heavy industrialized areas from Belgium, Germany, and also we benefit from some air pollution from UK with the prevailing western wind. And we're downstream large European rivers, Rhine, Meuse, so we get all the good things from Switzerland, France, Germany, and so on. 2/3 of our country is below sea level, and when you put a spade in the ground, you immediately have groundwater, so it's not really a suitable country for landfilling. Let me start my presentation with 1990. It was a year that we have really a political debate on waste management. Since in 1990, we had still rapid growing waste volumes, a lot of landfills, but not all well equipped. Capacity sufficient only for a few years ahead. Also insufficient incineration capacity. We don't like to call it mass burn, but we call it waste to energy or incineration. 5 of them were closed because of dioxin crisis we had in Rotterdam. Government immediately responded at that time with new regulations on flue gas emissions, and those are still in place and has been taken over by Europe. At that time we have low recovery rates, we think, 55% of all waste streams together, and separate collection of residential waste, only 16%. A lack of cooperation between different tiers of government. Of course, this doesn't happen here, but we had those issues. Provincial borders closed for waste transport, lack of data on waste management, and a small, inefficient waste sector. So therefore, we set up a waste management council because we thought that this could not be solved by just national government alone. The authorities were dispersed over the 3 levels of government, and also we needed to include the NGOs. So a waste management council was established in 1990 based on a cooperation agreement between the 3 levels of government, with a political council, with mayors, governors, and directors of the Ministry of Environment. And the task of this council was to draw up a national waste management plan. Until we only had 12 provincial plans, not a national waste management plans. And NGOs and industry were involved in this council. And the NGOs, they asked for not just the focus on disposal capacity, incineration and landfilling, but also look at special programs on separate collection of bio-waste, separate collection of residential and commercial recyclables, and also asked for setting up a help desk, information center for prevention and recycling to assist municipalities in their operational questions. The council existed until 2005. At that time, waste was not a political issue anymore, and the authorities shifted from province to the national government. So what were the elements of policy we developed? I think those are really quite obvious policies. The waste hierarchy, of course, you know all of those, the reduce, reuse, recycle. But like in UK, but a little bit earlier, we introduced economic instruments to steer the waste to the preferred treatment. In 1995, we started with landfill tax of about 12 euros. And in 2011, the landfill tax was at about the level of 108 euros a ton for combustible waste. And in 2012, we revoked this landfill tax because no waste was landfilled anymore. And Treasury Department, they spent more money on collecting the taxes than on the income from it. So economic instruments, also pay-as-you-throw schemes were introduced. Stringent standards. So we started with this with dioxin issues, immediate response. But also stringent standards for landfilling, incineration, composting, but also for the materials made from waste, so for compost and building materials. Planning at national level, so cooperation between the different levels of government, which is well established nowadays. Education, communication, waste management is part of a curriculum of primary schools, secondary schools, and also put in practice. Every school will have a battery bin where the pupils can discard their batteries or small electric appliances as a sort of practice of what they learn in the school. Producer responsibility. We started with producer responsibility EPR systems in 1991 for packaging waste. And the end of 90s, we introduced them legal systems for many waste streams, e-waste, batteries, end-of-life vehicles, packaging, car tires. And those systems were taken over by Europe based on our experiences. Well-developed notification registration system. We do not have those clear borders as UK has, with sea all around it. But we do have a notification system, so all the trucks need to have consignment notes, which says what they carry, where it comes from, where it goes to, what the composition is. And a very tight control and enforcement system. Not all countries in the EU really keep up with the speed of the EU policy. The Netherlands is the front runner, together with Belgium and Germany, I'm afraid to say. But not all countries can keep up with the high speed of Europe. So this is a graph on municipal solid waste, sort of residential waste plus. And it shows the performance of all the 28 member states, including also Switzerland, which is best performing, of course. And as you can see, gray is landfilling, blue is waste to energy, of energy from waste, green, recycling, and a sort of reddish brown for composting. And what you can read from this slide is that waste to energy and recycling really go hand in hand. Those countries who do not have any incineration capacity or poor incineration capacity tend to have low recycling rates either. So it's waste to energy does not frustrate recycling. Cheap landfilling does frustrate landfilling. In the Netherlands, the focus is really on source separation of recyclables. Typical, every household will have bins. A blue one for paper, a green one for organics, a grey one for the residual waste, and transparent bags for plastics. And also there are many opportunities to discard of your recyclables in street containers for bottles, plastics, paper, textile, and in large cities we do have a lot of underground containers which are quite nice to look at, not really disturbing public space. Also, every retailer in the Netherlands, that's part of our EPR system, who sells batteries needs to have a battery bin. Every retailer who sells energy-saving bulbs, mercury-containing lamps, needs to have a bin where you can discard of those. Near every supermarket, there should be a bin for recycling of your plastic packaging waste. So the message is make it easy, accessible, make it really close by, and spread the message, because these EPR organizations not just are responsible for the financing and recycling, but are also responsible for creating the awareness. And the activity of the EPR organization, you don't pay in your municipal waste tax, but you pay in the product price. It's included in the price, or it's a visible fee. Still, we're not happy with the results we have. We have about 50% recycling of household waste. 1 minute. I did all the effort to come here, you know. Okay, 2 things, thanks. So 50% recycling of household waste and 80% recycling of all waste streams together. So including C&D, commercial waste and industrial waste. But we're not happy with results yet. We think we still have too much residual waste, which we incinerate. We only landfill about 2 million tons of waste, which is about 3% of all total waste upcome. But our Minister of Environment just sent a document to the Parliament on what we call circular economy, and that's a buzzword all over. We want to reduce the losses in our system, so the losses of this economy with feedback loops from 10 million tons to 5 million tons in 10 years. And we want to improve our municipal solid waste recycling, so our residential waste recycling, from 50 to 75% in 2020. So to conclude, the focus in the Netherlands and in the EU is really on source separation of recyclables. So no MBT, it was already clarified in the previous presentation. Targets in the Netherlands for 2015 are 60% of household waste or residential waste, and 75% in 2020. And also Europe is moving ahead. Europe considers now quantitative targets for prevention and reuse. Also considers to increase recycling rates of municipal solid waste and construction demolition waste, which are for 2020 50% and 70% recycling. Increase the existing packaging targets, and also new recycling targets for waste streams which are not covered yet. Energy recovery, it's only limited to non-recyclable waste, so the residual waste after source separation. And disposal, Europe wants zero disposal. It's including incineration of untreated waste, and landfilling has to be virtually eliminated. So I hope this clarifies a little bit the Dutch and EU policies, and maybe this will help you to determine your part forward. Thank you.